Arjuna's hat does look a bit safari, though.
Hey, I'm on the safari.
It does.
How's everyone doing today?
Will the small hat not fit him just for this?
It might be funnier if the hat is like too small for Arjuna's head. It's a funny look. Oh yeah, that's hilarious. Please, let's do it. Let's do it, please.
Welcome to Was It Good, the podcast that reviews movies and TV shows. Today we're talking Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I'm Ravi, joined by my two brothers,
Arjuna.
Krishna.
and unfortunately our producer Michael is not here, and we have guest producer Lauren, who refuses to have a camera or the microphone, so
Yay.
we'll just speak for her.
And we are Was It Good.
Oh, we should have been like, and we are Indiana Joneses.
I don't know why you're all making these Indiana Jones jokes. Is it because we're wearing things on our heads?
Maybe.
No, this is how I dress now.
Yeah, this
I
is
wear
my
hats.
normal hat. I will say, Christian, your look with the indie hat and the never-ending mustache is what I call it.
Never-ending stash. The stash of destiny.
The stash of destiny.
Oh my
I
goodness.
believe it's quite interesting.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I've been perfecting this character, and I think it's finally come to fruition. I didn't know I needed the hat to complete it, so thank you, Indiana Jones. Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, God.
Wow.
Wait, what?
Oh, that's
And
a good
Jesus.
turn. Oh.
Speaking of things that take a turn, I know we're talking Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, but I was stuck on a plane for like a billion hours, so I did download the last part of Manifest, and I did finish Manifest.
Oh my goodness.
So I will, this is an easy, shameless plug for our TikTok. TikTok is what was it good pod. I will have a quick breakdown, like 1 minute breakdown of my general thoughts on Manifest coming out. So
Can you give us a tease?
no. You guys are also going to see this totally blind. So.
Blinding.
But anyway,
Okay.
how are you guys?
My head is in a little pain right now because this hat is a little tight on it. But other than that, I'm great.
I'll say this because our producer Michael and I, more Michael than me, spent a lot of time lighting this thing to like look really good, and I would imagine that with these hats blocking the light, we're getting weird things.
Probably.
So, probably won't be wearing it the entire time, or be wearing it in various bizarre styles. So
There you go. You see, when you wear it like that, Ravi, your face is perfectly lit.
Thank
It's
you.
beautiful.
But how does it look with the hat? Does it look like a hipster wears a hat?
Yeah, right now. Yeah,
It's very hipster.
No. No, it looks like in those westerns, like after a hard day of cow rustling, like the cowboys would put their hat up and they'd be like, have a whiskey. You look like in the saloon after a hard day of
You're missing a whiskey.
cowboying.
Is what
Hi, can I
Christian
have a
just said.
whiskey, please?
A whiskey?
One whiskey, please.
One whiskey, please. No, Arjuna looks more like a jazz player.
Yeah, he does. He looks like he should be like, about to bust out the saxophone and.
But
do some
tying it back into Indy, actually, I would say Arjuna looks like Sean Connery a little.
Ooh.
You remember Sean Connery has a smaller hat?
Yes.
That's what it kind of looks like. You look like
If you
you're
died-
Indy's dad.
If you dyed Arjuna's facial hair salt and pepper right now, he would look like Indy's dad.
I think we can do that in post.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Somebody
nice.
mark this down.
Ravi, we should be
Try
asking how are you after your grand adventure elsewhere?
So actually, it kind of ties into this adventure that
It does.
that I went
You
on
traveled
recently.
in time?
Because,
Spoiler alert for the movie.
I mean, this is going to be a big, long-winded answer to Christian's thing. But like, if we go back in time a little bit, Christian saw the movie like normal. Arjuna and I got to experience and see the movie. Arjuna got to see it early because of the things that he does outside of this pod. I got to see it because Was It Good was invited to the world premiere, actually, of Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. Our producer, Michael, and I went. And it was a very surreal experience. It's my first premiere I've ever been to in Hollywood and at the Dolby Theater. But after I left the theater seeing this movie, I turned to Michael, and I think I told you guys too. I was like, "Oh my god!" After seeing this movie, Indiana Jones, and like all the cool places that they go to. I was like, I'm really excited to go to Europe, to go to Italy, to go to Greece, to see the architecture, to be in the culture. And I will, say now, after doing my little trip I'm not excited about that place of the world, and the main reason I would say that is because we unfortunately went during peak summertime when it's
Tourist season.
Tourist season galore. There's just a ton of people, and I think because of that, and also the heat, because I hate heat, it was not the most fun experience, just because just so many people, so hot and everything. There were little pockets that were really cool. Like I was very impressed with Venice. Great place. If
Did you have some gelato?
I did.
Was it good?
It was very good gelato.
Did you bring me back some?
No.
Well, good. I'm not eating sugar right now, so you passed the test.
I brought you back
Whoa.
limoncello though. So
Oh.
that's alcohol with sugar.
Yeah, alcohol is like
It's like
sugar
a lot of sugar.
times 1,000.
Well, limoncello, there's like more of a sweet
Limoncello.
liqueur and everything, so it's like it is even more sugar than like typical alcohol. But overall, like I think at some point in my life I'd go back, but not during the summer. A nice fall, winter
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I went to Paris in the winter, and that was really nice.
It was empty, right?
It wasn't empty per se, but it was just it was a little cooler. There wasn't as many tourists, it seemed, at the time, and I really enjoyed it. And the only thing that's a downside when you travel to Europe that's different from like the indie movies than in real life is you don't get the cool map animation with the little red line that then goes into the little circle and fills in the circle. There's something that's like really nice about that in the movies, but that doesn't actually happen in real life. So I think if they could improve that technology in real life, it would make these trips much better.
They have it. It's on the airline, the plane tracker, like on airplanes. You can like follow along to your destination.
It's not as cool as Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I want it to
also buy a map
crossfade
and-
over my face like it does in the movies, and then I like the smooth animation of it, and then it hits the thing. The airplane one is just like gradually moves.
You know what? It's too digital.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I need more analog.
Too analog?
Yeah. I mean, if you go back to the original indie films, except for that god awful second one that we won't talk about, they obviously they didn't use computer animation for those things. Some of that stuff was hand drawn and physically animated the old way. So yeah, Junior wants analog animation.
Nice.
That's what I want. I need it.
So let's get into one word impressions here, because that's it's what we do. We describe things in one word because that's the best way to do it.
Nice.
It's the most efficient.
Never is.
It's the most
Succinct.
succinct.
Oh, there we go. Christian, you saw this film, obviously the most recent.
Yes.
So
I
you
did.
should go first. Let us know your one word impression.
Sure, yeah. I
Gonna
saw
steal my
this
word.
film actually yesterday. Actually, almost exactly 24 hours ago. My one word impression for this film is going to be adventure.
Damn you! That was
Classic.
mine.
Oh, excellent. I knew it. I knew you were going to steal it. But yeah, it was a great adventure. It was a great callback to those kind of movies, like the early Indiana Jones, what those movies encapsulate, which is just a good old adventure. And I don't think we get movies like that anymore. Movies now, you kind of classify them, well, there's just superhero movies, and then there's everything else. You don't really get classic adventure movies anymore. And this movie was great. It was a great callback to that time or that genre of a movie. So adventure. It was a great adventure.
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 Wow.
Indiana Jones.
Amazing.
He's right. I don't really see being on a plane for forever. They have the genres. Right. There was no adventure. It was just action,
Yeah.
Yeah.
comedy, drama, romance, sci-fi, and that was it.
Because all of those are an adventure in their own way.
Wow.
What
True.
is the YouTube channel that does the trailer breakdowns?
Screen rants?
Like
No.
honest trailers.
Honest trailers.
They actually in kind of like, I don't know, marketing or presenting this movie, they actually just did a honest trailer review of the Da Vinci Code.
Oh.
And they kind of kept drawing parallels between that and Indiana Jones. And when you kind of look at Da Vinci Code and this movie or any of the indie films, yeah, it's an adventure, right? It's a do this to do this to do this, like a quest.
Yeah, for sure.
So then my question
Kinda
then
like-
is The Mandalorian, because you both said Mandalorian season 2 was the quest.
So,
Is that an
every
adventure?
season's been that.
Yeah, so it's an adventure then.
Yeah, it's an adventure show.
Yeah, June does have a point. Every story is kind of an adventure. I think what the genre of movie for adventure for me is that this is what Indiana Jones has always done well. At least 2 of the first 4 movies is you start in the real world with real life issues like World War II and or post World War II and Nazis and saving relics and artifacts, and then you delve into the more fantastical elements. You go into the fantastical, the almost the fairy tale. So the adventure to me has always been like you start in the real and you end up in the magical, if you will. And you don't really see those kind of movies anymore. You're already in the magical, or you stay in the real world. So yeah,
That's a good adventure to go on.
If only there was a ride that you could go on.
I was just gonna
Resistance,
ask you guys actually. The whole going, the plane when they're in the storm and then they travel through time and then end up flying over the Battle of Syracuse, right, in Italy.
Yes.
I was like, that would be such a great Disney ride, or it can't be Disney, right? Because it's Universal.
No. Indiana Jones is
India.
Disney.
Yes.
Oh, it is Disney. Okay.
Yeah.
Universal Disney. I blend those together. It's the same in my mind. Don't hurt me, Lauren. So yeah, are they? That should be a ride. Is that a thing? Is it going to be?
There is an Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland.
You know, when
Disney
you were
World.
visiting us, we were planning a Disney day with you, and if I remember correctly, you quote said, "No, thank you."
Correct. I said,
but yeah,
please do that when I leave.
It's an indie ride where you go into a car essentially, and you're just driving around. And
It's more Temple of Doom.
no, because it has the boulder and it has snake. It's just a mix of stuff.
It's just
And then if you go to Disneyland Paris, they actually have a roller coaster, which I didn't know when I went there, and I got in line with Sahara, and we were like, "Oh, this is going to be the usual ride."
Could you remind us again who Sahara
That's
is?
just my fiance.
Oh wow, you haven't said said that in a while. So.
And then we are we sure this is the same ride? And then we got closer, and then you see the roller coaster, and we're like, oh no, it's a roller coaster.
Wait, do you like roller coasters?
I like roller
Okay,
coasters.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I used to not like roller coasters.
Same.
But,
I was right. You know where
to
we
it.
haven't been in SoCal? Six Flags.
I know, never been.
Same.
Never been to the actual park.
Have
Been to the
never-
park, but never been inside the park.
Why did you go to the park?
During the peak of COVID time, they used to do a lot of drive-through things.
Oh, at that.
And they
Six
did a
Flags.
drive-through
Gotcha.
thing at Six Flags for Christmas time.
Oh, that's
with
cool.
lights and stuff, which was cool. So you got to actually drive through the park, which was cool. Into the actual park and go through with your car.
Somebody's like, oh, wow, we all have these things. We can't use them. What can we do? Oh, keep them in their cars and make them
Pretty
long
much.
to go out and do stuff. That's funny.
I mean, it worked.
What a scary time that was. Anyway, Judah, your one-word impression for
My one-word impression for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is going to be time.
what the fuck?
What a time!
Because
What a time.
the theme of the movie is time, right? Kirshner talked about Indiana Jones movies and kind of the styles that they've always had, starting kind of grounded, going a little bit more wonky, a little bit more crazy. People had big issues with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull because it went aliens. This one went time travel. Last Crusade had the Holy Grail and bringing his dad back from the dead, essentially. Raiders of the Lost Ark had the Ark that melted.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, that melted all the Nazis. And Temple of Doom was. We don't need to talk about that movie. But
Racism.
yes, to a peak. But yeah, this movie is all about time, and they always use the MacGuffin to propel the central theme of the movie, right? And the theme of this movie is certainly about time. They leaned into Harrison Ford being 80 years old and being this older Indiana Jones who's at the end. It's kind of the end of his time, right? They start the movie the day that the moon landing happens, right, in 1969, and the scene that I really like is when he's in the college and he's teaching. These students aren't really paying attention, and he's talking about the past,
Right.
And what's the future and the present is this moon landing, and they bring the TV in, and
They'd rather look at that.
it's his retirement. This is the end. This is a man at the end of his time. They play all of that up. His wife has left him. His son has passed away, and he even wants to stay. He wants to stay back in time. He's like, I'm a relic of an old age, and So it's all about time, you know. I really liked that. I really liked that it kind of leaned into where the character is, where Harrison Ford is obviously naturally at an age. It didn't try to pretend that he was Indiana Jones from 40 years ago, even though
Oh, thank God.
there was a scene in this movie,
The opening,
long
first
scene.
20 minutes, which we'll get to, I'm sure.
Oh, we can just talk about it now.
De-aged Harrison Ford.
I call it dead-eyed Harrison Ford.
I call it
Yeah.
I call it Moff Tarkin gone even more wrong.
I mean,
Yeah, honestly-
no. Be fair. I would say, let's be fair. The tech has gotten a lot better from the days of Moff Tarkin. And I think that partially because, like, Moff Tarkin is almost, like, if you look at the ratio of human actor to digital recreation, the Moff Tarkin model and everything was 10% human, like 90% digital. Right. This, they did have Harrison Ford, I believe, and then did the de-scale.
He was not the portrayer of the young Indy.
Not for
I
all
hope
of
not.
it? I thought it was for some of the scenes.
No, that was not his body ever.
Was it?
I hope not, because he was doing some crazy stuff. His whole body would break for trying to do some of those
But
stuff.
it was his voice.
Yes,
For sure.
That was not good. That was bad.
That was bad.
That was very bad.
Apparently, they did try to use some of the the Reese
Original?
feature.
They
They used some of it and they blended it, but it just didn't. It
take.
sounded wrong.
right, for sure.
It is interesting because it wasn't too bad when he was just standing still. Like it was a little funky. It was the action scenes where he was like moving around. It almost felt like dropped frames. Like it was kind of like jittery almost. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I honestly wish they did it. I forget if it's Raiders or the other one,
Last Crusade.
where they got River Phoenix.
That's what
right,
Last Crusade,
to play.
yeah.
Last Crusade. Thank you.
Yeah.
To play young Indy, and I really wish they would have got just another actor to play young
Alden,
Indy. They've already set the precedent, right?
Right.
Yeah,
in that
but
movie.
I
so
feel
why
like
not do it again?
Lucasfilm wasn't ever gonna recast a young Harrison Ford again after everything with Solo.
Yeah.
Like I think.
Oh.
I think the backlash of like.
Well, but
We
for the
want
first
Harrison
20 minutes,
Ford.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I don't disagree with you, but I think because of that informs the studio of like, okay,
But it's
We're
also
gonna
You're right, but
hold on.
it's also a missed opportunity. Oh,
No,
sorry.
I would say no, because remember when you look at Harrison Ford or Han Solo in the whole Solo versus where he is in Episode 4, it's two different time periods, and we've never seen that time period. So that's why I feel like the Solo thing and recasting that made sense. And then back to your statement with Phoenix, River Phoenix being young Indy. He's a teenager.
we hadn't seen that.
We hadn't seen that yet. The
That's a
problem
good point.
with recasting in Harrison Ford for that first 20 minutes, the scenes where he's infiltrating the Nazis, because that's at the end of World War II. The Allies are already kind of invading. They're just stealing as much as they can and running into hiding. So we've already seen that Indiana Jones. So that wouldn't have made a lot of sense to recast him. I think what it comes down to, and this ties into what we had said about this Flash CGI and all CGI in Hollywood. And there's a couple of VFX artists that have actually come out on social. I've started kind of really explaining the process. And the big thing is, studios don't really care. Like, they know that they're going to get butts and seats.
Yeah.
It will be as passable as whatever. And if, sure, there was a good podcast, is sad that there were a couple of frames that took you out, or you didn't like our voice change or our voice decision, great, whatever. You still watched the movie. You're still talking about it. So it's like, it is what it is. I think my war on CGI is over.
Yeah.
Well, the studios are going to do whatever they want to do.
Oh,
at the
yeah,
end of
that
the day,
too.
You know, so. And, I mean, I for whatever reason, they really spun it. And, I mean, the big thing that was coming out of this movie was, like, Harrison Ford being, I'm Indiana Jones. No one else is Indiana Jones. When I die, that character dies. So they really, like, made the decision that no one else is playing this character in particular. There is no other there's no Chris Pratt coming in to play
Thank God.
young
Thank
Indy
God.
or
Yeah.
anything like that, which, I respect the decision. Like,
Good.
if that's
How long? So is that like is that contractual now? So it's like he said that they'll never redo or remake the
anything
movies.
that's just a word of mouth, just like this is where it's like with Star Wars, right? They were like Episode 9. This is the end, right? This is Episode 9, and this is Star Wars, and like, they've announced all these new Star Wars movies, right?
Yeah.
And like, who knows? Like, they could change any of those to episode 10 anytime they want, right? Because like, hey, guess what? You know, this is the
We
way
can
to
do
make it
whatever
better.
we want.
Yeah.
The only actor that I'm
That
aware
makes
of,
me nervous.
the only actor that I'm aware of that has signed something contractual about their appearance is Keanu Reeves. He has a contract that, like, when he passes, no studio has the right to digitally recreate him or bring him back, if you will.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure other actors and actresses may have something like that, but obviously it's not public.
Other actors have done the opposite. Some
Yeah.
have actually sold their
Yeah.
likeness, right, and sold
Yeah.
that they can
Or
be
their
digitally
voice.
recreated, or their voices, right? Edward James Olmos.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
Edward James almost.
James Earl Jones.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
James
James
Earl
Earl
Jones. Edward
Jones.
James Olmos.
Yeah.
I don't have Battlestar Galactica on my head.
Have you started rewatching it?
Apparently.
No.
You should. It's good.
But I went to a
Uh,
museum recently, and he was featured in the museum.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. They just have him standing there
There's
all
just a
day?
video, no, like an interview with him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Neat. I met him. He's so cool.
I've met him too.
Ooh.
Well, he shook my hand. And he said my name.
He winked at me.
Mine's better.
Oh.
My one word impression for Indiana Jones is going to be merch.
Hence the hats on our heads.
No, and I'll say this. This is why, because when it comes to like merchandise, and I don't know if this is obvious from our set, I'm a very big science fiction-y type person. Most of the sci-fis out there, like the Battlestars, the Star Trek, the Star Wars, the Stargates,
A lot of stars.
stars, are usually have really good merchandise. Things that you're just like, that's so cool. I want that. I want that armor. I want that figure or whatever. I think this is one of the first indie movies where the MacGuffin, right? I was like, holy shit, I really want that as a thing. The
You didn't
Dial
want
of
the
Destiny.
plain chalice? From
No,
the
no.
last
I want the
Crusade?
dial because it just looks like the coolest like fidget toy, like a big ass spinny
Fidget spinner.
thingamajig thing. And I'm just like, oh, I really want that.
It
as a
is
thing.
very tangible.
Yeah.
It's a very good branding idea for the folks at Disney there. Make a Dial of Destiny fidget spinner.
Or I wouldn't
Like
call
a
it
big one?
I wouldn't call it a spinner, just like a fidget toy. So you could just move it around, right? Like when you're fidgety.
Here's
Like
a
a
better
puppet.
idea. Here's a better idea. Why don't they make an actual dial of destiny that travels in time?
But remember, this doesn't technically travel in time. It travels to 2 points in time.
It's just a compass to find a fissure in time.
Yeah.
And a fissure that only goes between 2 points in time.
Right.
Right, that's it.
Well, but it sounds like it depends on the angle and the speed, right? Like his calculations were off. Mad Mikkelsen's character wanted to end up in 1939 and instead ended up in 200 BC, 212 BC or something.
But that's because Archimedes, again, he didn't know about that stuff. Or maybe he did know about the shift.
Oh, right, the continental
Shift and stuff.
shifting.
But
yeah.
he knew that it was going to come back to him. So I think he just built it as a boomerang.
Or Stargate.
Ooh.
No,
Yeah.
Stargates go multiple places that gates are dropped.
Unless
Unless it goes through sun
or there's a solar flare.
or the solar flare, then you can travel in time.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you guys say so? We sort of discussed how all the Indiana Jones they delve into the fantastical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys feel like this one was the most fantastical? Maybe it's obvious, but I'm asking the question anyway. Like the Raiders, I'm thinking of Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Last Crusade, right? Those things were fantastical, obviously, but they didn't travel through time, right? This one felt like, and maybe with Arjuna's one-word impression of time, this being the last one, they wanted to go all out. This one, as soon as they went back in time, I was like, oh my god, they're going all the way.
I think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is still the most fantastical.
Because of the
I don't
alien
remember.
aspect.
So to be honest, I don't remember Crystal Skull. So you have to remind me.
So it's aliens. Well, multi-dimensional beings that look like aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like
Oh.
a alien saucer that takes place, like lifts off at the end, and that's the whole thing with the Crystal Skull. It's just like these beings essentially. So that one to me is the most fantastical.
Gotcha.
But this one's I think a close second. But again, I think they've always had that element of like
no, for sure.
these are insane things that aren't even possible. I guess that's also the entertaining factor with Indy, right? Indy is this law professor. He's a doctor. He's all about history and
He's a
keeping things
realist.
grounded.
But he's
right?
not a law professor.
Well, not a law professor, but he's
History.
a history professor.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah, no,
He's done.
archaeologist.
Is he running around?
giving
I present
him
to
a
the
new
court.
profession?
He's a cop with a whip.
Oh no!
He's a whip cop. Wait, what?
Nope. Move it.
But he's. I mean, every movie, right? He always has kind of this like the things I can see with my eyes. But every single movie, there are these
Magical
supernatural
things.
kind of
Ridiculous
magical
things,
things you can't explain, which is fascinating. But yeah, I think this one's certainly up there.
I think it depends on when you see it. So if you were alive during the 80s, right, when the first indie movies came out and you had not seen anything like that prior, so like if you were a kid or a young adult even, I think you would be like, wow, this is whimsical and amazing. Unfortunately, in this day and age, we've seen so much time travel nonsense that it kind of just is like, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's another.
This
it's
isn't
another
this isn't the best
trope.
time travel show ever. Dark.
And
I
it's
don't
not,
care.
and it's not even right. It's like they just go to one other point in time.
So that's
you know what I mean?
boring
So
time
it's,
travel.
it's just one place when they come back.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I was like, I'm glad they kept it contained.
Yeah.
You know, they gave enough time travel for Indy's mind to be blown, and also when he comes to, you know, when he wakes up in the bed, right back in the present day, and you got all the drugs next to him. There's that, you know, moment of doubt. It's like, oh, maybe he just imagined the whole thing, or at least I had that, you know.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it, and it was like I thought it looked pretty good. It was like this big Roman, you know, big battle between Romans and Greeks, and you know, I like the little things in there with the Roman general or the Roman general, I guess, trying to go after them. Be like, we're gonna take out this dragon. So yeah, I was like, because to me, like, I guess with Crystal Skulls too, right? They stay in their present moment. And like, to me, this is like an archaeologist's dream. Like, they went, like an archaeologist, the greatest thing that could happen to an archaeologist is you go back in time and you get to live the subject matter that you're studying, right? So yeah. Anyway,
Speaking
Well,
speaking of archaeology, real quick. So when we were in Italy, we got to go and do a tour with an archaeologist in Pompeii, right? The destroyed city from the.
Did you find the
massive
TARDIS?
No TARDIS. Good deep cut though. The tour guide or archaeologist, she said, quote, that the tour was one of the more interesting aspects of her job. And that's because they spend all day just digging.
Yeah, I mean,
So I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
interacting with other people who are like, whoa, this is so cool, I could understand. So I don't know. Maybe giving tour guides tours is an archaeologist's dream, not being there.
I'm glad you brought that up because there was a brief, a brief moment in college, like a semester or two, where I was like, oh, archaeology, that'd be fun. And then I started taking some like anthropology classes. And I actually do find that stuff very interesting, but archaeology itself is not like, it's kind of like marine biologist. You know, it's not, you don't take it seriously. It's
Wait, sorry. Did you just shit on the entire field?
on two fields.
let me preface this. A lot of people back in our day, it's kind of relevant today with student loan debt and stuff like that. Yeah. But a lot of people, you know, go to school to get a good job to make money and stuff, right? So archaeology isn't, and it still isn't a profession that you look at to make a lot of money per se.
That's true. That's a good response.
Not that that's why. That's not that that's why I went, you know, to school is to get a great pay. I mean, I went to study creative writing, for crying out loud. So obviously, who am I to speak? But so, yeah, a brief moment in time where archaeology was like, ooh, that'd be fun.
Oh, that would be fun. Yes.
That is quite fascinating, actually, that you bring that up where, you know, why do you go to school? And yeah, I'm sure you're right. Like, if you statistically look at it, I'm sure that we're getting far less academics out of colleges now than ever before, I would imagine.
For sure.
I think we're getting more, you know, people going into technical fields, creative fields, marketing fields. But yeah.
We live in a world that is run by money, so.
You know what? I think I'm going to become an archaeologist now. Good for you. Thank you. I have the hat. So
There you go.
Gee,
I was going to ask you, now that we've talked about a little bit of them traveling back in time, the ending in particular, right?
we are like really just jumping all over.
But we're here, and
we are here.
This was the thing that I questioned the most when I watched this movie, because it really does feel like it's set up for Indy to stay.
He is staying
in Pompeii.
Yeah,
and he's like, "I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna die here. This is my dream."
No, Pompeii. The battle of
right. Well, you said
Syracuse.
Sorry,
yeah,
confused.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I confused. Are you jet lagged?
Maybe I
I
am a
think
little
the jet lag is
myself.
rubbing off on him.
I mean, Pompeii. Oh, no, I don't. Now, see, this is the thing with history. It's like, okay, so when was the Battle of Syracuse in comparison to when Pompeii happened?
I think Pompeii
Anyway,
happened
Todd.
before, but don't quote me on
Pompeii was 79 AD.
I wouldn't know that. So
that. I lied.
We were just on the tour together.
okay, real quick. The only thing I remember from the tour, instead of the beautiful scenery and the heat, was that Times New Roman, the font, came from the city of Pompeii.
Yes, it did.
Why was it called just Pompeii font?
I don't know. They didn't.
That's
They
tough.
didn't explain that part.
That's tough.
I guess you should have asked.
But anyway, as I was saying
Sure.
about the ending, it just seemed like it was set up, and then his goddaughter, Helena, punches him, and he just wakes up in present day, right? Like they're setting it up where like they got this plan and they're gonna go back through, and they're running out of time, and then they kind of just jump quickly. And to me, I was a little thrown off by that. I just felt like there was going to be something with maybe him actually being left behind, or their adventure at least back through the ripple or something. It all just seemed very like abrupt, and then it felt surreal. I was like questioning,
Did he die?
Yeah. Right? Like actually what did happen? But it seemed a little bit more definitive, like Marion showing up, and then like Sala being there, and everybody just kind of being there. But what did you guys think of the ending? Like, did you bump on it at all?
I liked it.
Okay.
I think it was perfect. I think it was, it's at the end of the day, you know, either scenario, him staying in Syracuse and at that battle with Archimedes and everything, and studying history and and then also him ending up and like trying to reconnect with people and figuring out like his life and everything. I think either scenario is a nice ending for Indy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that I'm not struggling with, that I'm kind of curious about, I guess, is like, is this actually the end of Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones? Is the Indiana Jones mantle, character, world, is it done? Full stop, the end? Or with that ending where he takes his hat and everything, like, does that mean, no, I'm going to keep going on an adventure? Like, that's the part where I was really kind of hoping for a,
Yeah.
because if you had done he stays back in time with Archimedes,
That's
and
the
everything,
end.
that's the end. That makes sense. But now it's like, well, who knows?
Well, I think these movies have always been intended as like serials, right? In terms of
This adventure is done.
this adventure is done,
Right.
but like, does the character go on any more adventures after this? Probably. Will we see them? Probably not. I mean, like Harrison Ford's 80. You know what I mean? And it took 15 years between this and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull for like this to get made and released. So like, if you put it on the same time path, you'd be 95 when the next one comes out.
To be fair, though, Clint Eastwood is in his 90s, and he was still making movies, or is still making.
Yeah,
movies.
he's a zombie. Though.
Granted, though, he just stands around and he's.
And he
angry.
directs mostly now. He's not starring in movies.
I would be fascinated to be a fly on the set just to kind of see what that directing actually looks like.
He's a pretty good director. He's got some some pretty good movies. I will say this is how I interpreted the end and that whole thing. And Junior, you've got it here in the outline too. The movie felt like to me that they might want, depending on how it does and how it's received, want Helena to take up the mantle, not of Indiana Jones, but as her own adventuring archaeologist. And so what that ending with Indy has set him up to be a mentor and maybe have some cameos if they go that route.
Right.
So he's still in the world. She brought him back. She has seen, she like him is a little bit of a rogue, right? Especially when he was younger. So she set up now to be like, you know what, maybe this adventuring lifestyle is for me. And Indy can help mentor her or, act as sort of like, I forget the character's name from the first three movies, but his fellow archaeologist or fellow professor.
Oh,
right?
Brody, Marcus Brody.
Brody, yeah. He can act maybe as sort of that role for the spin-off or the continuation of this adventuring archaeologist archetype.
They could actually copy what they did with Batman Beyond.
Yeah,
So Bruce Wayne mentoring Terry McGinnis as the new Batman and hiding behind a screen. So Harrison Ford could just call him or call her or whatever and be like, yo, what's up?
Well, it's 1969. They don't quite have cell phones yet.
Not yet.
Radios.
Well, actually, Arjuna, maybe they did, okay? Didn't they always say the military is a few decades ahead of the public?
That's a rumor that's just been flying around since Roswell. Or just after Roswell, actually.
So, so if you look at it through that lens, is the Helena character, in your opinion, what did you think? And do you think she was a strong enough character to maybe continue the mantle?
I think so. I thought she was interesting. I thought like they didn't. This is, I mean, again, comparing to Kingdom of Crystal Skull, like the reason Mutt was a pretty panned character throughout for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. He was kind of set up to be Indy's son, the guy that maybe takes over, and I feel like the reason that character didn't work was because Shia LaBeouf was just trying to be Harrison Ford and like be the same type of character with like a little bit harder edges. It's like this is what Indy would have been like if you met him when he was like 22 or 23 or however old Mutt's supposed to be in that movie. What I like that they did with Helena was she's a different character, right? She's kind of this. She's not in it for like the good of history or anything. She's incredibly smart. She has some characteristics of like her grandfather, even in the ways of like the way that she's kind of keeping journals and like notes and information. But she's also like cheating people out of like money and stuff.
She has flaws.
Or well, not her grandfather, but
her father,
or I should say Indy's father, in particular, and her own father too.
Right. Sean Connery, yes. Than her.
But yes, she's flawed, but she also has like multiple dimensions where she is willing to help out like kids who are kind of orphans, but she's also in it like for the money and for like the good of stuff, and
she's still capable of
exactly
caring for other people, and especially
she's got layers.
Yeah,
she's got depth.
Yeah,
she also
agree.
hasn't
she
come
was
out
really good
and said that Steven Spielberg did a bad job on the film.
Is that what Shia LaBeouf said?
He said something. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know the exact quote, but he basically said like they messed up with Crystal Skull. He said that post,
Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull.
I mean, that's not the most outrageous statement.
No, not at all. Right? But you can't say anything to one of the overlords of Hollywood and then, expect to be
expect no backlash.
Well,
no,
you just did it.
Oh shit! Spielberg's gonna eat me.
Oh boy.
We haven't done the DVD chapter.
I was gonna say let's get into the DVD chapter listing. Let's make it a speed round, Krishna. So you're gonna do this.
Sala.
No, better.
Gimli.
He's gonna do it in a voice that's a very high pitched, like fast talking voice, which is Mads Mikkelsen as Hannibal Lecter.
I've actually never seen Hannibal Lecter, I don't know.
No, this will be your interpretation of what that would sound like.
I have no contact. I don't even know.
Well, you've seen the original Hannibal Lecter played by
I haven't.
Anthony Hopkins. You've seen the whole like Clarice thing. You've seen that clip.
No.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Hannibal is I've never seen.
Fine. I
know nothing about
Mads
it.
Mikkelsen as Galen Erso from Rogue One. You've seen that movie.
Yeah, but what does he sound like again?
Christian, for fuck's sake.
It just sounds like Mads Mikkelsen.
Just sound like Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh man, I don't even know. I'm just gonna read this as normal in my normal voice.
That's not fun.
That's no fun.
Your interpretation of Mads Mikkelsen, then.
I don't even know what he sounds like. Like
you just saw a movie. With
I know.
He was
but
the antagonist.
His voice to me isn't like super distinct. So I'm like, I don't know.
Is that then an insult to?
Not at all.
Mads,
He's an
like,
incredible
if you can't remember.
He's not memorable to Krishna.
He's an incredible actor, but he's not. I wouldn't say he's known for voices. So I'm not sure.
It's like this. He's not Swedish, right?
I don't know what he is actually.
Maybe he's German because he plays a German.
It's true. Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this in Arjuna's voice.
Perfect. Let's hear that.
Okay.
Boy.
Hello, I'm Arjuna. Arjuna's DVD chapter listing as Arjuna. AI's interpretation of Indiana Jones. The day they staged the moon landing. I'm retired. Ride like the wind, Bullseye. Gimli saves the day. More sidekicks. Mario Karts. Wow, Arjuna. Your son is dead. I am Puss in Boots. The kid will be fine. Flying with style. Time travel, bitches. You'll die too. The end?
Wow. That sounded exactly how you sound, Krishna. So good job, I guess.
Boom. That's how I got around the whole, I
Meds.
could just do it in my own voice.
There you go. I think my favorite one, I am Puss in Boots. I do forget that. Yeah, that was Antonio.
Antonio
man.
Banderas. We have to talk
I
about
was like,
this.
at first, when he first appeared, I was like, is that Antonio Banderas? I'm like, oh, no, it's not. And then 10 minutes later, I'm like, that's fucking Antonio Banderas.
And then he dies. He has like 3 lines in the whole movie, and then is just dead.
But he's
the entire
memorable.
crew, like, geez,
Murdered.
brutally murdered.
There was a lot of brutal murdering in this movie, which, like all of his work, or not all of them, but 3 of his work colleagues got
just shot.
brutally
Like,
shot.
just
And I
dead.
was like, wow, this is...
I'm pretty sure
They're
Indy
not holding
also
back.
killed a person when he like shoves the bookshelves, and then it crushes one of the agents.
I don't think Indy has ever shied away from killing Nazis.
But his
But that was a CIA agent. I don't think it was a Nazi.
I mean, I
Oh,
couldn't
that's-
tell because they were so mixed.
Yeah, which is weird. That was also
Yeah.
a weird.
Yeah,
part to
that's.
me.
I think. I mean, can we get into it?
Sure.
Let's
This
do
is
it.
my only problem with the movie.
Your only
Nazis.
Again.
I
Yeah.
get that. Like, and I've spoken to a few people, and they're like, "But that's a staple of Indiana Jones." No, it's just
Well,
during the time period. Like,
You know why, though? You know why it has to be Nazis?
has to be.
Yeah, because Indiana, they want the stakes high where if Indy kills people, it's kind of like stormtroopers, right? You don't mind because their faces are covered, they're less human.
Sure.
Same thing with, it's the same idea. It's like, we don't mind the murder and the death because it's Nazis. It's the same. It's like, yeah. fuck
That's
'em.
actually a
If
very.
they die, they die.
I've not heard that.
Temple
view
of
on
Doom.
it, so-
Temple of Doom financially did worse, right, than Raiders of the Lost Ark, because they specifically didn't want to do Nazis again. They didn't want to do that, and then they made a huge mistake and made a very racist movie.
Somehow,
And
yeah,
and then they course corrected, right, for Last Crusade. Like, let's go back
to Nazis.
Nazis, Cold War, all that type of
Right.
stuff, right? And then Kingdom of Crystal Skull, let's go back to that again. And then
Well, that
same
was-
for,
that was-
same
yeah.
for this one. Like, let's just go
and
keep going
for
back
that time
to the well.
period. For that
Yeah.
time period, you can't pick a more dramatic backdrop
Right.
to any story than Nazis in World War II. There's
Well,
there's nowhere to go after that.
Well,
you know, it's-
well, Krishna, I mean, props to you. You have successfully fixed my one issue with the film. So good job.
oh
You get a gold star for this pod. Juna,
wow,
you get a rotten apple.
I don't like apples.
not even a
wrong.
Rotten Tomato.
Oh, I don't like
Speaking of Rotten
tomatoes either.
Tomatoes,
Yeah, the Rotten Tomatoes score is actually
shocked.
quite fascinating to me.
I am shocked.
Well, so it actually was lower. So
Oh, wow.
the first Rotten Tomatoes scores came out in May, and that was when the film premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, and it was at the lowest point a 51-52%. Like,
That's
pretty
that's
low.
rotten.
It was getting bad. Like, critics were kind of roasting the movie a little bit, kind of skewering it, and just being like, "This isn't good. There's lots of problems with this, et cetera, et cetera." I think once more people got to see the movie, the scores kind of went up and up and up. But did not start off well. But is definitely a little bit lower than I think I expected. I was like, I don't think this is a 66. I think it's 67% currently for the critics. Audience score is higher, 88%. Which
I
makes
feel like
more
audience
sense.
score, though, in the Rotten Tomatoes world, I feel like audience score is more accurate.
Somewhat.
Well, no. That depends because depending on the type of movie,
Right.
you'll have audience review bomb movies,
Right.
depending on who's cast and
Like
all that other
like the
stupid
Marvels,
junk.
for example, when that
Sure.
comes out in November,
That's review bombed.
That's
It's
gonna
gonna get
be
review
that's gonna be
bombed,
like
yeah, to hell.
50% at the very highest on an audience score because you just
Yeah.
have the weirdo
trolls.
people, trolls, incels, whatever you want to call them, out there who are just gonna be like, there should never be a movie led by a woman, so I hate this movie, and there's 3 of them, so I'm gonna triple hate this movie.
Triple hate this movie.
There's 3 of them. Oh no!
Well, yeah, it is, right? So we're like, oh my god,
Marshall!
what about the men? You know?
What about the men?
Men.
And then they're gonna be like, "Oh my
They
god,
have
2
two
of
and a
them."
half men.
Then they're gonna be like, 2 of them are non-white. Oh my god, oh, this movie terrible.
I mean,
This
let's
forced
be
crap.
honest. If the Marvels gets higher than a 40% for the audience score, that's a win. I'd be shocked. But I mean that doesn't even that depends. That also depends on if the movie's even good, right? I mean, the movie
That's
could
true.
also
We
be
don't know.
terrible, and then it's just hard to tell. But to Arjuna's point, it's hard to tell because the movie's going to get review bomb no matter what. So to your point, Ravi, where I think for most movies you're right, the audience score is more accurate, but then you've got certain movies where it would be the complete opposite. You'd be better relying on the critic score because there's just going to be too many trolls review bombing it.
And then you also have to think of the opposite of that, even with like, let's take Zack Snyder superfans for example.
Oh yeah.
When
Yes.
like it comes out with a shitty DC
Or James
movie,
Cameron.
and
Or
they're
James
like,
Cameron.
"This is the greatest," or even like Christopher Nolan.
Oh yeah.
Right? Wherever like you have all these people who are cultish, including maybe some on this pod, around their movies, and they're like,
Ooh.
these are the greatest things that have ever been made, and they're infallible, right?
I have never said that.
Well, no, I'm joking with you, but there are people like that, right? There are people who are like James Cameron and Christopher Nolan and
Scorsese, Spielberg,
right.
Quentin
There's
Tarantino.
nothing they
Yeah.
can do wrong, right?
Everything
Their
is
movies are
gold.
incredible,
Right.
and so then the audience score is like
piss
98%,
gold.
99%, but
Right.
that's not an accurate reflection of the movie either. So
That's true.
Though
just kinda
in
depends.
the I will say though, Christopher Nolan does make very good movies, and some of his movies are 98% worthy.
I actually just rewatched.
hasn't had one in a
Inception,
while.
so That's a good one.
That's probably true. What was his movie before Tenet?
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk was pretty good. I like Dunkirk.
Dunkirk was good.
It was well
It was really
shot, but it was.
It was really good, actually. It was so good. It was
forgettable.
terrifying. Like the ticking clock. At least I'll never forget the
Tension.
ticking clock.
It's not as good as
Thank you.
like Interstellar or Inception or Memento or any of
Prestige.
those. Prestige. I mean, Prestige is in its own tier, though.
That's true.
That is perfection.
Yeah.
My
I don't
audience
know if
score
that's
for that
true.
would be 100.
Have you rewatched that recently?
Yeah, and it's perfect.
When was the last time you watched Prestige?
I just watched it right now.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and rank the indie.
Oh wait,
franchise.
can we do one? There's one more point I wanted to bring up real quick.
No, he's still gonna bring it up. Go ahead.
Mutt,
Yes.
Indy's son,
Right.
Yes.
being killed off screen.
Mhm.
How did we feel about that decision?
I already said it. Shia LaBeouf said something really bad about Steven Spielberg.
Therefore,
his character's not
But
gonna-
how do you feel like it actually worked within the movie? Because I actually thought it actually worked.
It worked really well.
In terms of like they were able to give it some emotional weight. Harrison Ford has never been known as the greatest actor that has ever graced our screens by any by any metric, I would say.
How dare
you know
you.
you're going to get
How
a lot of
dare
hate
you.
for that statement from the Harrison Ford stands.
That's fine. I don't care. Like he's good at what he does, but I'm not saying he's the greatest single performer that's ever lived.
Christian Bale and then Wolverine are the two greatest. Based on
And
your-
Wolverine,
Well, I forget his name. Who is
Hugh
it?
Jackman.
Thank you.
No, they're not the greatest either.
But they're in your
Yeah.
favorite movie.
yeah, they have great performances, but like that doesn't make a great. If a singular performance doesn't make a great actor, because like Arnold Schwarzenegger has good singular performances, but he can only do one type of character, right? Doesn't mean he's a great actor. That means he's got one great face and he can make a lot of money off of it.
Kindergarten
Harrison Ford has that Harrison Ford-esque like manly man charm,
Air Force One.
and that he was able to utilize in all his movies and make a crap ton of money off of it, right?
Would
does it
you be
well.
surprised if like Harrison Ford is actually in like debt?
I would be shocked.
I mean, it wouldn't be because that would explain why he's doing so much recently. And he's like, I just need to make money. He's like, sign me up for Shrinking. Sign me up for the Yellowstone.
I like
spin-off.
Harrison Ford.
He's great in Shrinking
because he's clearly just like each day he showed up to say he's like, I'm Harrison Ford, bitches.
Yeah, but it's always Harrison Ford, right?
He's got the Paul Rudd scenario down perfectly,
right? And some of that is acting, and some of that is like that's what Hollywood wants, right? Mm-hmm. When you cast Harrison Ford, you probably want him to play Harrison Ford.
Daniel Day-Lewis,
in terms of a great actor.
I'm just thinking of actors who are the greatest actors of all time.
Yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis is definitely in that conversation.
But anyway, I actually thought the scene where he delivered, where Helena was like, "If you could go back in time, what's the one thing you could change?" Right. I felt something when he was like, "I would go back and tell my son, I would convince my son not to sign up for the army."
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that's proof that Harrison Ford is a good actor, but he's just been typecast by Hollywood.
Yeah, for sure.
So he probably is capable of doing stuff like that, but he's never been given the opportunity, I would guess. But I agree with you 100%. I was like, first of all, wow. I was like, that was like, oh my goodness. I was not expecting them to kill his son, Shia LaBeouf, off screen. But the delivery was like impactful,
and it meant something to the movie. It meant something to the film, which is hard to do when you have like behind the scenes drama that causes someone to not be in a movie, right? A lot of movies these days will just kind of ignore that character, or there's like a one-off line of like they're busy doing something else, and so like I thought it kind of worked with.
Well,
what they did.
It also works for the time frame because that is what so many parents experienced during that timing was their children being drafted and sent off to war and going through all of that.
Yeah. And then even further, it's like Marion not being with him anymore with the loss because of the grief, right? which is very real, right? Like grief is really hard to deal with, and it drove them apart at that time. So it worked.
So what we're saying is Shia LaBeouf's comments helped the film.
Yes.
Potentially, the version of the movie they made does not work as well if his
Definitely
son is
not.
around.
I mean, put it this way: without that, I don't know if you guys felt the same way, right? But without that situation, at the very end there, or not the end, near the end, right, when they're going through the wormhole, the fissure, through the fissure, you're like, for a moment, you're like, if they do go back far enough. You're like, oh, maybe Harrison Ford has a chance to save his son, right? That was going through my mind. The other part of it, too, was like, would he try and convince Helena to, let's go back, but not go back all the way. Let's make a pit stop, right? In 19, whenever, before his son enlists. Yeah. So all of those are meant to be there. I think you're supposed to be like, here's an opportunity, right?
Right.
So, yeah. I think it worked on several levels for the movie.
Nice. Speaking of the ending, before we get into like rankings, we're doing bold predictions, and then the big question of was it good? Junior, you have a story.
Yes, I do have a story.
And to preface it real quick, this is specifically about how the movie ended originally, supposedly.
So walking out of my viewing, this guy came up to us. And he was an interesting individual. That's how I'll preface this. And he claimed that the original ending to the movie didn't have them going back to the Battle of Syracuse, but it had the characters actually going back to 1939, I believe, the year that they wanted to. Similar things happened. Indy gets injured, but he actually ends up dying in 1939, and then the movie ends with them getting stuck there, and Helena living basically Indy's life, but doing it better with all of the previous knowledge. So, like, the end credits apparently had scenes or visuals of, like, her going back through all the classic Indy adventures, but doing them with the knowledge of before.
So,
he's confused.
Yeah,
that is what this individual claimed was the original.
I just want to say what you don't need to give names, obviously. Is this a trustworthy individual? Is this like
definitely
a random
not trustworthy
person off the street?
But
random person?
Pretty much a random person.
Okay, so I don't want to say it means nothing, because what you're saying, that actually in a different world, that actually makes so much sense, right? Like, go back to 1939, stop Hitler and Hitler's protege again, right? Indy dies. That's a natural end for him. So I can see where it makes sense. I'm kind of glad they didn't go that route, though.
Me too,
based
because
on what you've just said.
I think it would have done two things. Number one, I do think there would have been a very large voice of individuals being like, "Oh, cool! So you're just kind of changing the character for that political reasons, blah blah blah." But then I think the other one that would have been to me a bit scarier is then suddenly we get Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark reboot. And
what's Helena's last name?
Shaw. Helena Shaw.
Helena Shaw and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right, exactly. And I'm not saying that wouldn't necessarily be an interesting thing, but I think that would have been a lazy thing because you're just retelling a story that we're aware of. Sure, it'd be a little bit different. I would rather, if we're going to go down and make movies about Helena, then make movies with Helena in that time period between, in the 70s and the 80s. Like, there's stuff happening history-wise there that is fascinating, and there's things that we could explore.
Like get into the Cold War kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of archaeology things destroyed and stealing during those wars and periods, so I'm not too familiar with what was happening then.
Do you think it was to solve the Big Bang Theory issue with the movie?
The Big Bang Theory?
Yeah, the Big
Where in the Big Bang, they say basically Indy, if he was not in any of the action, they would have ended the exact same way.
For Raiders.
In Raiders of the Lost Ark, if
yeah.
Indy wasn't in the movie at all, the movie would have ended the same way. And this is brought up in the Big Bang Theory.
It's also brought up in a few other shows.
Yeah.
I think Family Guy did a parody on that, and yeah.
That's good, though. That's a funny
That's really interesting.
fact. It's like, if Indy doesn't actually participate, it still ends up the same way.
Well, stories about characters change.
The first movie is not called Indiana Jones, though. It was just called Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then retroactively changed to Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Interesting. I think I knew that and forgot.
Yeah.
It seems like a common theme, Krishna. You should get your memory checked.
But that's like
I don't think I drink enough caffeine.
The first Star Wars was just called Star Wars.
The original script was called The Star Wars.
Yep.
That's it. And Han Solo was an alien.
very different.
Would have been better, honestly.
And Ralph McQuarrie's original concept had stormtroopers with lightsabers.
That would have been cool, too.
With shields.
Also cool.
Yeah.
Retro sci-fi look.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's rank these movies because this is turning into a long pod as per normal. Woo! Who wants to go first?
I will go first.
Why?
You asked who wants to go first.
That's a good point. Go ahead.
All right. Number five for me has to be Temple of the Doom. It's the worst movie.
Temple of the Doom?
Temple of the Doom.
No.
Temple of the Doom.
The movie should be called Temple of the Doom. Or no, Temple of the Doomed reactions that people will give that terrible film.
4, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. 3, Dial of Destiny.
Ooh.
2, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And number 1, Last Crusade.
I'll go next. I think I'm going to do the exact same ranking. And to be honest, I think a lot of people would go with that exact same ranking. All I'll add is the Last Crusade is the one I've seen the most. It's the one I love the most. When I think of Indiana Jones, that's the one. It has the greatest, maybe the greatest last shot in cinema history, with the 4 of them riding off into the desert sunset. It's got Sean Connery in it. It's got River Phoenix. It's just a lot of Hollywood royalty around that movie. A great personal arc for Indiana Jones, exploring his relationship with his father. Almost a perfect movie, if I'm being honest.
It's one of my favorite movies. Like, when we were talking about adventure, earlier, that's the adventure movie. Like, everything else,
It's a staple adventure
everything else comes second to that.
Yeah.
Even like The Mummy, second.
Oh yeah.
And The Mummy's supposed to be our...
It kind of is, at least for us. At least for us.
Yeah, it was scary as fuck. Did not sleep that night. I screamed.
I want to rewatch The Mummy.
No,
Right,
don't.
I rewatched
Scary.
it. It holds up.
It's
the movie
scary.
holds
Really?
up.
Yeah.
In terms
Wait,
of
the
just
first
being
one
like
with Brendan Fraser?
it holds up as like a really fun adventure movie. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It's great.
I'm excited. The second one was really fun too.
Yeah.
And then after that, it went off the rails.
Well, the third one had
Jet
Jet
Li.
Li and an entire
And then
army.
they recast the female lead. Rachel Weisz didn't want to do the second one, or there was a dispute of the third one, and then they cast someone else, and
also
terrible.
Their son is in it too. They have a son.
Their son's in the second one,
Right, but he's older now.
Older
he's
in the third
older.
one, yeah.
Like he's more co-lead to Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, and it's not good.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser has said because obviously he's making like a nice, awesome comeback, and he has said that he would be interested if somebody had a legit idea or something to do with it.
Well, let's
how would
get on
you
it,
feel
guys.
like that would be kind of cool if like Brendan Fraser, a new Mummy film? Oh, that'd be so good. Did you ever see the Tom Cruise one?
No.
I
refuse to watch that dog
one.
shit.
So cringy.
But if you have to bring back Rachel Weisz as well.
And I don't know if she would do
that chemistry was so good.
Yeah. They're quintessential to those.
It's
movies.
like Indy and Marion. It's like that.
Yeah.
That level
that dynamic.
That dynamic kind of. Yeah.
So for my rankings, just to change it up a bit, I'm going to do the exact same thing.
Really?
Really?
That's legit. I mean,
honestly,
I think
the only thing correct ranking.
I think the only thing that I would change potentially
It's 2 and 1.
is 2 and 1.
Yeah.
I may say. Oh, actually, no. Excuse me. No. Yeah. Actually, 2 and 1. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. I would change 2 and 1.
I also feel
So
like
you
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Christian.
I was going to say so you might put Raiders as your
first over Last Crusade.
I also feel like there are 3 tiers, right? Like, there's the bad, which is like Temple of Doom and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. There's like Dial of Destiny, which isn't like quite as good as the first 2, but probably closer to those than the bottom 2.
Right.
And the tier, like the God tier, essentially is like Raiders. And
It's also funny. Like this is obviously the 5th indie film, and it's very much in terms of the release of the indie films. It's been good, bad, good, bad, good.
Yeah.
So the next one, if they do make another, it's going to be bad.
It'll be bad.
Yeah. We should just skip it.
Just do 7.
Yeah, just call it Indie 7.
Yeah.
Indy and the Magnificent 7.
Ooh.
No, don't mess up the Magnificent 7.
Yeah, don't mess up both franchises.
Speaking of franchises in their future, what does anyone have a legitimate, interesting, bold prediction of what's to come?
I think
I have
this
one.
is I think for me this is it. This is it. I know I said earlier that they might try and do something with the Helena character and make that sort of the spinoff. I honestly think they should, because I think she's a great, compelling character, and it would be fun to see her go on adventures. That character go on adventures and do stuff like Indy. I just don't think they will, either because of how the movie will be received, or how much money it might make or not make. I'm not entirely sure what the box office numbers are, but I just don't think, and I think without Harrison Ford, it doesn't matter. You could put anyone in there. It's just not gonna. It's not the same. It won't do as well, and I think they're smart enough to know that. So I think this is the end of Indiana Jones.
Yep.
That'd be fine. I mean, again, I think that is A-okay. That's a fine thing to do in this day and age. Real quick, though, the actress that played Helena Shaw, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, just a fun fact, Christian, I don't know if you know this, but this is not her first ever Lucasfilm project. Did you know that?
No.
I will give you $2 if in the next 30 seconds you can guess the movie. You have 2 movie choices. You have 2
Franchise choices?
No, two guesses. Wow. Very
2? Why not 3?
You get 2's funnier. Just go.
2 is funnier. Okay. Because I know I've seen her before, and I know the name. Rogue One.
No.
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry.
Yeah, just.
Han Solo?
Yep, there you go.
Oh.
Ding, ding, ding.
I will give you.
Ravi, send me $2.
I'll give you an extra,
right
and I'll give you an extra $1 if you can tell me the character she plays in it. You don't have to get the exact character name. Just who does she play in that film? Your face.
Did she play an Imperial officer?
No. One more guess.
I have no idea.
Just guess a character.
You've
You've seen the movie. You know who are all the
bartender. She plays a bartender.
No. She plays L3, which is the robot companion to Lando, who then eventually the robot's brain, whatever, is put into the Falcon's computer. So yeah, that's her.
Do you think her? Do you think her and Harrison Ford had any conversations about
Star Wars?
Both being
in Star Wars?
In the Millennium Falcon.
Inside of the Millennium Falcon.
Oh man.
She's like, you've
Speaking of which, real quick, I was thinking this earlier. So we've seen now the big three of Star Wars: Luke Skywalker, Leia, and Han Solo, all de-aged.
Oh yeah,
Who did it best? Yeah. Who did it best?
It's gotta be Luke, right? I mean, it's gotta be Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he had the most action because, like, even though we saw Luke Skywalker de-aged and Princess Leia de-aged, the Leia de-aged is when her and Luke are fighting, and it's mostly like,
and you see it in Rogue One too,
side
and
shots,
Rogue One,
right? But in terms of like action sequence, they're far and few. While with Harrison Ford, like, we got a 20-minute essentially action sequence. So I think Harrison Ford did it
too much. It really was undone in the Book of Boba when you saw the de-aged Luke in the sunlight.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh no, that looks bad. When it was just on that Imperial ship in Mando season 2, you're like, oh, this looks pretty good.
Great. It was impactful.
But then otherwise you're like, no.
Too much sun, man.
Put the hood back on. I tried throwing Book of Boba on.
No, why?
On the flight?
No. I think it was just like a couple weeks ago. I was just like, I was bored and just put it on.
Jesus Christ.
After the first like 10, 15 minutes, like, I don't want to suffer. I don't want to suffer.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Why? Like, God. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those, like, there's probably three tiers of watching content. You're like, this content is really good, entertaining, I had fun. This content was okay, I don't feel strongly either way. This content is really painful and it's just awful. And Book of Boba is in that last one, unfortunately.
Ooh,
like, it hurts. Like, it hurts. It physically hurts me.
Why do you have a Boba Fett plushie behind you then?
Someone got that for me, and it looks good over there.
Krishna, this might be a bad time for me to pitch both of you guys on the Book of Boba rewatch that I wanted to do for the pod.
This is a terrible idea and time for that.
June, you said you had a bold prediction for Indy?
I do. I'm going to go the opposite of Krishna. I think an Indy 6 is going to happen. And I think I'm going to even soft pitch it to you guys. It's like going to be like 5 or 6 years from now. Harrison Ford desperately needs money. And he's returning to all his franchises. He's like, guys, bring me back in Star Wars. I had that like dream thing in episode 9 where I was kind of there but not there. He's like, bring that back. He's doing Marvel movies, right? Now he's the new Thunderbolt Ross. He's probably going to turn into Red Hulk. Which, by the way, someone during this press tour asked him of like, you're going to turn into the Red Hulk, and he's like, what is Red Hulk?
Wait, wasn't it Kevin from Yahoo Entertainment?
I think it was.
Yeah, asked him that.
It was so funny.
Oh, my God.
So he's going to keep doing that, and he's going to return to Indy, and he's going to be like, okay, this one, though, remember I talked about the MacGuffins being like on the nose? He's going to be like 85, 86. This one's about ghosts.
Oh my God!
And they're gonna fight ghosts.
Well,
oh my God!
Wait, so he's not gonna be a ghost himself?
No, he'll become a ghost at the end.
That's helping Helena,
right? And that's how. And maybe Shia LaBeouf at this point has like made his whole Hollywood career arc, and he's back on the up and up.
Yeah,
and that's how they can bring him back.
Sure,
and they can like do a DH Sean Connery as a ghost as well. They can bring everybody back. They're gonna make like an Avengers movie, but with Indiana Jones movies, ghosts
versus aliens.
Yes, the Crystal Skull comes back.
Yeah. They bring everything back.
Oh my God!
And then there'll be ghost Nazis. It's going to be Ghost Hitler, right? Because there's always Nazis in these Indiana Jones movies,
right?
So Ghost Hitler then tries to come back and like take over the world, and then he has to stop the ghost, but he becomes a ghost in the process, and that's how they end the franchise. And it's like 1970 something. So there's like VW buses and everything too, and there would be like a good natural car sponsorship to go with.
They should end it in 1970, whatever year A New Hope came out, and that's how you do that. You know, you see
1977.
Yeah.
So that movie takes place in 1977, and he becomes a ghost the day the A New Hope releases.
This is the greatest
Full circle,
movie
baby. Full circle.
ever.
You're welcome, Lauren.
I mean, that would be funnier if it was like they make this near the next Indy or whatever, and in there is like a thing where he goes and sees, A New Hope.
That's what causes him to die and become a ghost. It's the stage for Star Wars. Actually,
Stresses him
like
out.
it goes through franchises.
Oh my god! I mean, there is a comic book. This is before Disney brought Lucasfilm, but there is a comic where Indiana Jones discovers the Millennium Falcon buried, and he finds the skeletal remains of Han Solo and Chewbacca. So,
Wow, that is some
Weird things have
franchise
been done.
hopping.
yeah.
I mean, if we're doing multiverses, if multiverses is the hot thing right now, right, in Hollywood and on streaming and TV, yeah, fuck it. What's beyond that? You just break the fourth wall, break all the walls, and you just franchise hop.
Wait, do we know? Because obviously, whenever there's a big Hollywood studio movie release, like a Star Wars or The Flash or a Batman or whatever, there's usually a character that's dropped in Fortnite. Has Fortnite and Lucasfilm or Disney teamed up to do an Indiana Jones
You
character?
should do the kid.
The kid?
The kid.
What kid?
The kid in the movie in Dial of Destiny.
No, they'll do like the main character usually.
He's the main character.
Sure, but what I'm saying though is like if you have Indiana Jones in Fortnite, Han Solo's already in Fortnite, I think. So there's your
Have them
crossover
fight.
event,
So you can have them kiss.
basically. The game. I'm gonna go way different for my bold prediction, and that's gonna be there is another Indiana Jones movie coming out. But it's gonna star Harrison Ford and co-star. This is the bold prediction. Mark Hamill.
As who? The antagonist?
No. Just
Yes.
a fellow. No.
Yes.
No. Better. His brother.
No.
It's
Indy. No, you would have heard about him in the first 5 movies. I think we should have Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill playing a Joker-esque art collector, and have them duke it out as old men. That sounds incredible.
They're both ghosts.
I want to see this. I want this to be made.
And the best part, it takes place in 1977, and the end fight sequence takes place in a movie theater with
As
A New
the
Hope is
as the
playing.
New Hope opening credits.
There you go. That's my bold prediction. And you know what? I feel like there's this idea that there's a conscious creative stream happening where we're all connected to the great creative process or whatever. So these ideas that we're having, we're not the only people that have these ideas.
Oh, no.
And I truly believe somebody has probably pitched this in a combination of what you just said to both Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford.
Ghosts, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Indy 6, ends with
1977.
1977.
Yep.
I mean, they're close enough. They're only 8 years away in the
They could do
in
it.
the movies.
They could totally do it.
All right, just keep them alive for a few more years. That could happen.
Or
They
have
should
them sign
just
some
start on this
contracts.
now.
Yeah.
Just start now.
I mean, he's got
Start writing.
Harrison Ford's got to finish.
The new Captain America movie.
Yep.
Then it's going to be in Thunderbolts.
And he's
Then
gonna do that
doing
press
Shrinking
tour.
season 2.
Yep.
He's still doing that Yellowstone spinoff as well. He's a busy man now.
Is he doing another a dog in the mountains movie?
He
Oh my
also is a
God.
voice in Secret Life of Pets, I want to say. But I
Yeah,
can't
he's so
remember.
busy.
He's a dog in that.
Did he do nothing for a while?
Yeah, for like 10 years. He just before Star Wars, he wasn't doing a whole lot.
I don't think so.
Do you remember that movie, What Lies Beneath?
Yeah, it was creepy.
Yeah, creepy psychological
movie.
thriller where he's like a killer.
Yeah, he's a
And
bad
he
guy.
like tries to kill his wife.
Yep.
Classic.
Don't forget,
was great.
he had a plane crash where he landed his plane on a
right.
golf course in Venice.
Yeah, don't trust him with planes.
Well, so that's why he took a break too.
That's
Oh,
true. There you
okay.
go. Whoops.
Gotcha.
Has anyone
Interesting.
watched any of the press tour he did? Any other press tour things? Like one of my favorite things I saw was someone asked him, if you had the dial of destiny, where would you want to go?
Mhm.
Right? And he said, without missing a beat, home. He's like, I haven't been home in a long time.
I mean, I imagine like he came out, he was pretty energetic at the premiere. Like he was cheering and like waved in like John Williams and everything. But I'm pretty sure as soon as they did their little intro, I'm pretty sure he went out back, got his like Uber or car or whatever, and just went home. I doubt he stayed for the whole thing.
Took a nap.
There's no chance.
Yeah. I mean, they've seen that movie at least. I mean, they've premiered the movie at cons, right? So he's seen it a few times, I'm sure.
And they've done private screenings, and I'm sure he also gets like a final say on the final edit because he's Harrison Ford.
Yeah. All right, let's ask that question. Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, you can. I was gonna say you can start if you'd like.
Oh, okay. Let's go. Let's go, Ravi.
Oh, wow.
Was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny good?
Yes, it was. It was very, very good, and I just want to rub it in both your faces that I got to see John Williams live. So
I saw him live at Celebration.
I was 3 rows away from him. He winked at me.
We got coffee.
You guys have a lot of winking with
coffee.
famous people in this pod. Should I be concerned?
Yes, because they're not really winking at us.
We're winking at them.
Oh my God! Wow.
Thank you, sir. Arjuna, was Indiana Jones and the MacGuffin McDonald's kids toy good?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. It was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. It's one of those movies where, like, if you like Indiana Jones movies, you're gonna like it, and if you don't like Indiana Jones movies, you're
gonna like it.
You're not gonna like it.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Yeah.
Like, I think it's firmly within that IP, and I think like people forget about that sometimes. Like when they go see movies and they're like, I wanted Star Wars. And it's like, well, then go see a Star Wars movie, or like go see something else. I guess I don't know. But yeah, I liked it. It was fun. It was entertaining. Krishna, was Indiana Jones in the dial of Harrison Ford being shirtless in the first 20 minutes of the movie good?
Yeah, it was super fun. I wasn't going to see this movie in theaters. I'm glad that you both saw it early and said it was worthy of a pod because it was super fun and worthy of a cinema experience. Like the big action sequences. The action sequences were long too, and like you could take each action sequence and it was like a mini movie. Like, rising action, climax, falling action. It was great and definitely benefited from the cinema experience.
Yeah.
So extremely good, very fun, and props to everyone involved on that little project.
What the heck?
Christian, do you remember what studio made the movie?
20th Century Fox? Disney?
Are you being fucking
Universal?
serious? Are you being serious?
It's in the outline.
I mean, to be fair, it was owned in Paramount, so I don't know if you noticed too that it actually did have the openings for both Disney and then Paramount.
I did not notice that.
At the beginning of
I'm
the
off
movie.
the hook. Thank you, Lauren, for saving me. I'm off the hook now.
So that's why you thought Universal had a ride for it. Got it. I mean, that makes sense. How come there's not a Star Trek theme park? I just realized that.
Because Paramount hasn't made like a Paramount Land yet, which they should.
They should. I'd go there.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's going to do it for us here on this podcast. Thank you all for listening to our review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. As always, you can find us on the socials, on Instagram and TikTok at WasItGoodPod, and on Twitter at WasItGood. Full episodes are available on youtube.com/wasitgood and our website, wasitgood.info. Our next pod is going to be on Apple TV's weirdest sci-fi show to date, Silo. So check it out.
Shiloh.
Silo.
Juno, how... Ravi, have you seen the finale yet?
Not yet, no.
Juno, how far back are you?
You'll find out on Tuesday.
Till then, goodbye.